The 1984 NBA draft is considered to be the greatest draft in NBA history, with 4 Hall of Famers being drafted and the first 16 pick include Michael Jordan, Hakeem Olajuwon, John Stockton, and Charles Barkley. But for many NBA fans, the 1984 NBA draft is the draft where Sam Bowie got drafted in front of Michael Jordan. They never look at all those Hall of Famers that was in that draft. But there's a reason why the Portland Trail Blazers made that selection. Let's talk about it. If you go back in NBA history, the center position always have been a position that every franchise valued. Every team that won championship or won multiple championships, they all have one thing in common. They had the dominant center. If you go back in the 1950s, the Minneapolis Lakers won 4 championships. They had George Mikan at that position. The Boston Celtics dominated the 60s with Bill Russell at that position. During the 1970s, there were a number of quality dominant centers that won championships. The Los Angeles Lakers won their first championship with Wilt Chamberlain in the early 70s. Lou Alcindor got Milwaukee the only championship in the beginning of the 70s. The New York Knicks, they got the only championship with Willis Reed in the middle of the 70s. And one of my favorite NBA players, Bill Walton, helped the Portland Trail Blazers capture their first NBA championships in the late 70s. In the 1980s, center that won championship continued. Robert Parrish with the Boston Celtics, Moses Malone in Philadelphia, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar with the LA Lakers. So that position is valued. In 1984, there were no draft lottery. To determine what team was going to get the top pick, the 2 teams with the worst record would have to do a coin flip. The Houston Rockets and the Indiana Pacers were the 2 worst teams. Yes, the Indiana Pacers were in the loop. To understand the Pacers situation, you have to go back to 1981. The Pacers made their first NBA playoff run in 1981 after joining the NBA in the mid-70s. After getting swept in the playoffs, they lost their center, James Edwards, via free agency. They made a trade with the Portland Trail Blazers by giving up a first-round draft pick for center Tom Owens. The Pacers were terrible in the next few years. That's how we got to 1984. The Houston Rockets won that coin flip with Portland, then they were rewarded the top pick. Hakeem Olajuwon was coming out of college that year as the no-miss prospect. You had a guy that was 7 feet tall. His defense ability was terrific. Can block shot, defend the pick and roll really well. Everything when it comes to the defensive standpoint, Olajuwon was your guy. The only question mark he had was his offensive game. But that was something that was easily could be fixed when he got to the NBA. That pick turned out to be a great pick. Olajuwon is a Hall of Famer, a 2-time champion. The next pick, that's when things got interesting. The Portland Trail Blazers already had Clyde Drexler at their disposal. They needed a center to create a partnership with Drexler. Their choice would have been Olajuwon, since Drexler and Hakeem had already played together in college. But Olajuwon was already off the board, so they decided to select Sam Bowie out of Kentucky. Bowie was not a bad player in college. In his first 3 years, he was very good. Until he got hurt, he broke his leg in his junior year. He did come back to play well in his senior year, but the damage was already done. You could say that the Trailblazers reached for that pick because they needed the center. They didn't go for the best available talent. Instead, they went for need by needing the center. I understand that pick. Why? All those players that I mentioned earlier, they were all champions. That's what Portland Trailblazers had in mind. They needed another guy that was going to be able to dominate for years. Was Bowie that guy? Maybe they should have did their research to figure out if he was healthy enough. The next pick, the Bulls got their goal. Michael Jordan. the greatest player in NBA history, arguably. The Bulls probably didn't even know what they had in their hands when they drafted Michael Jordan. But very quickly, they knew he was Black Jesus. Very quickly, they knew he was the man. Jordan dominated the 80s, dominated the 90s, won 6 rings. But Bowie, on the other hand, injuries after injuries. He did play 12 years in the league, but it was 12 years of being injured. A lot of fans view Bowie as a bust. In my opinion, in terms of Michael Jordan and Hakeem Olajuwon, yes, he is a bust. But in terms of players that can't play, no, Bowie could play. He just happened that he got hurt. Anthony Bennett, for example, Adam Morrison, those guys are bust in my opinion because they can't play. But Bowie, on the other hand, he just got injured. Would Bowie have been a Hall of Famer if he didn't get hurt? Probably not. But his skill set definitely was something that could have been used in the NBA. Bowie was a terrific passer. Could rebound, defend before he got hurt. But Portland should have done their homework by drafting the best available talent, Michael Jordan. Back in the 80s, teams didn't play the way they play now. It was a slow game. The game was very slow. Portland never really thought about drafting Michael Jordan because they already had Clyde Drexler. That was a mistake. Houston, on the other hand, they drafted Olajuwon even though they had Ralph Simpson at their disposal. That's where I blame the Portland Trail Blazers. Maybe the Portland Trail Blazers never did their homework about Michael Jordan because they wanted to draft a center for their team. Michael Jordan dominated the game, won 6 championships. Bowie, on the other hand, he played hurt for 12 years, and the rest is history. Thanks for watching. Catch you guys on the next video.